Hey guys, this is Fergal from Poker VIP. We are back for part 2 of our 20NL coaching series for Speed Hold'em over on Betfair Poker. So for those of you that have not watched part 1, we are playing in the 10 cent, 20 cent blind pool. It's a speed poker variant, so every time we fold we get dealt into a new hand immediately. We're going to be playing 2 tables side by side and hopefully we'll be able to book ourselves another winning session. If you haven't seen part 1 already, I would recommend watching it first of all, but obviously it's not compulsory. They are completely standalone videos, so there's no need to, but the information is there if you want to check it out. One of the key takeout points that we took from part 1 is that the overall pool standard seems to be relatively weak. We're going to defend in position here. We're getting a little over 2 to 1, and we're going to flop bottom 2 pair because that is how we do it. Here, there's no need to slow play at all. He's going to have a decent amount of king X, so we're just going to raise and look to get as much money in the pot as soon as possible. While I was getting the tables set up, we had one decent winning hand over on the left table where a guy limp called, or limp jammed, should I say. He was a short stacker, he had about €6 or €7. He limped ace king off suit. I 4x'd it with pocket tens and he jammed for his €6 odd, and we obviously called and we got his money. We held for the flip. And with ace-9 here, we don't really have a hand, like, if he is air, that's essentially what we're targeting here. We're just going to be checking to him and trying to get him to stick more money in with the hand that has absolutely no equity, which is essentially all that we can do. He's not going to have much value here at all. The flop went check here from what I recall. So we are just going to check, see if we can get him to bluff again, and we're not planning on folding. Don't love the diamond, but we don't hate it either. We just chop it up versus a worse ace, which seems like a reasonable line for him to take. An unfortunate run out for us, though, that we didn't get the win. So anyway, as I was saying, one of the key points that we took from the first section of the video was that the overall standard here, it's not amazingly good. So hopefully we're going to be able to book ourselves a nice winning session yet again. On the right table here, we're just going to take one small stab at it. We don't need to go large at all. It kind of sucks that this guy is such a short stack because he's going to be jamming all in fairly wide. When we get min raised here, there's nothing to do with just fold. As I said though, I'm pretty happy taking a stab at this kind of board and just trying to take it down there and then, and when you get played back at, it's obviously an easy fold. We're not going to worry too much about that one. 10 jack suited over on the left table. We are almost certainly going to be playing this. I think it's strong enough that we can just call a raise rather than use it as a 3-bet bluff. If it was a hand like jack and 9 suited, I'd be much more keen to use it in my 3-bet bluffing arsenal, but with 10 jack suited, when we're both connected and suited, I think we can call even though we're going to be out of position. King 7 suited though is a prime candidate to be using. We're not accepting the limp though at all. We're going to be ISOing versus the button limp for sure. And we're going to use King 7 suited here as a 3-bet bluff over on the right table. So if Mike on the left table had just opted to raise, we would have been calling. And we're just going to fire here. Half pot seems about right. I think we're going to get a decent number of folds, and if we do get called, we have a lot of turns that we can borrow. The 4 is not the best one, but I think we are going to fire once more. Actually, let me think about this one. No, actually, we're going to give this one up. I think when we do get called here, the 4 changes absolutely nothing. I think it's pretty unlikely that he's going to be going anywhere, so I think we're better off just giving up our hand. Seems reasonable to me. And here we're going to be looking to get a little bit of value here with our ace 5. Obviously, there are a huge amount of pair plus draws that can come along for the ride, like king queen, king jack, 10 queen, and so on, that have pairs plus gut shots. We're going to be betting again to extract value from those types of hands, and then be just checking back pretty much every single river. I didn't even realize that we'd improved to 2 pair there. That wasn't part of my decision. We must be betting that board twice, I feel, to be making sure that we get value from those types of hands. The 2 pair doesn't really change that much. I'm not expecting him to show up with a stronger ace there that often at all, so picking up 2 pairs is obviously nice if he does have a hand like ace jack, for example, but it's not going to change a huge amount there in general. Pocket queens, we're going to have an easy 3-bet, obviously. I'm just after realizing that my auto top isn't on, so I'm going to add some more chips in. I thought I must have only enabled it for one table there, which is my mistake. This is obviously not a good board for us by any stretch. We are just going to be, actually this is one of the few boards that we're just completely check giving up on, I think. The fact that it goes check check is definitely promising. I still don't think that there's much value in betting here. He's definitely going to be checking back some ace x. He's going to be checking back some pairs as well. I'm gonna call one street here. I don't love the extra spade at all. I'm just wondering, is it worth bluffing this though to get him off some ace x, which is possible. I don't think I will though. I think we're just going to check and try to get this to showdown. And we're just going to be folding now. That was possibly a mistake calling that turn, but after the flop goes check check, I don't think it can be that bad. Pocket eights here, we're not planning on folding. We're just going to call down two streets here. Where he's going to show us a king here sometimes, but he's not limited strictly to kings. So, and when we're happy to check this down and take our showdown. Pretty much impossible to get called by worse there. And if we do bet there, we're pretty unlikely to fold out any hands that has us beat. Even a hand like pocket nines there, I'm almost certain will be calling the way we've played it. So I think checking back our eights there is definitely going to be our most profitable line. 10 jack we're going to be using to open. If Drake opens, we're just going to fold. If he was deeper stacked, we'd be using this as a 3-bet bluff, but when he only has 40 odd big blinds, it's unfortunately a fold. I don't like giving up my button. Unfortunately, some stack sizes do dictate that we must. Here our pair is going to be good fairly often. I'm just going to put out a small protection bet here. We turn a flush draw as well, which is quite nice. We're just going to bet again ourselves. We're not folding if we check and he bets, and I think I prefer keeping the initiative in this hand. We flop an open-ender with some backdoor flush potential over on the right table, which is quite a reasonable holding. We're going to be betting at this quite aggressively. We turn the nuts, and we have the flush draw as well. So we're going to be betting, and we're going to be going a little bit larger here, just trying to get it max value. And we're going to set this up for quite a large river bet if he calls again. So Fezzatron is thinking about it. It looks like he's probably going to fold. Usually when people take this long, they're just folding. He doesn't, which is interesting. I don't love the diamond, and I don't love the 10. That's probably the worst card in the deck for us. I was going to go quite large in this river. I'm just going to bet quite small now, just to try to get a crying call with some 2-pair combos. I definitely don't want to get raised here, but if we do get raised, I'm not sure if I can find a fold. That sucks. As I said, that 10 of diamonds was pretty much the nut low card for us. Really, really unfortunate. Over on the left table, we flop the world. We have the flopped flush with a gut shot straight flush draw. Unfortunately, we don't induce a c-bet with our check on the flop, and he instantly folds on the turn, which is unfortunate, but hey, these things happen. Deuce 3 under the gun, we are going to be snap folding. 5 jack is not going to be good enough to open the button either, so we can just go ahead and fast fold. Generally speaking, I'm not an advocate of using the fast fold in these games. I think a lot of people do go ahead and use it, and they miss out on a few marginally profitable spots by doing so, which I think is going to be a mistake. Like all those little marginal opens, they add up in the long run for sure. We're going to use our ace blocker here and use it as a 3-bet bluff against Drake. His stack size here is a little bit awkward, but it's not great for him either. So because we've sized down our 3-bet a little bit, it means that he can't just kind of auto profit with the 4-bet over the top very comfortably. Normally I would be 4xing it there. If we do that 4x versus the smaller stack though, we're giving him a better price to reship, which I don't like. And when it's checked to us twice here, I think we're just going to fire once here. Half pot seems about right, and see if we can get a fold here. When he's checked to us twice, it's pretty clear that he doesn't have much, so I think that bet's going to be very, very successful. We can definitely fold out a lot of his ace highs and so on as well, plus any of his random cards that we may be ahead of now, but do have some equity going into the river. 4-5, we are not, we're getting 5-1 here versus the limper. Normally, if I'm going to be playing this hand from the small blind versus the limper, I'm going to be using it as an ISO hand. I don't want to ISO 4-5, but getting 7-1 in our money, I think we can just complete and see a flop. And hopefully see you next Tuesday does not put in the raise, which he doesn't. So we flop a pair, but obviously we're four-handed. I'm not very excited about it. We're not going to be continuing here if there's any more money put in, but hopefully that we'll get to see a free turn and possibly improve. We don't. And 7-8 suited. Normally I'd like to 3-bet, use this as a squeeze spot, but when we're nice and deep here, I think we can definitely just call here fairly profitably. Squeezing is definitely not absurd by any stretch, but in this exact scenario, I think I'm happy just to click the call button. It's really unfortunate that it's the shorter stacked that has squeezed himself. I don't think we're going to be able to continue this now, at least not profitably anyway. And we're just going to click the call button, keep rest a lot's range as wide as we possibly can, and underrepresent our hand with the ace-king. And pocket nines, obviously an easy open. When this goes check-check, we block a lot of Queen X, which is good. I think I'm actually going to fire once at this now. We can definitely get a lot of hands like pocket tens and pocket jacks to fold. If someone has a hand like pocket queens, then we lose out on a half pot c-bet, but I think this bet, when it's checked to us, it's going to get through fairly often, I think. We flop a set, which is fantastic news. We should be able to get all of True Poz's money very often here. We're just going to check to him. He does ship it in, which is fantastic. If Mike comes along for the ride, we'll be thrilled, but he doesn't. And we get a little bit lucky there, but hey, you need a little bit of luck sometimes. So we're up a decent amount over on the left table. I know we definitely dropped a little bit over on the right earlier on. We had to top up, I think, by about roughly 7 or 8 euros. So we're in or around break even on the right table. And we're up nearly a buy-in over on the left, which is fantastic news. And 9-5, we're not planning on continuing, but ace-deuce will definitely be an open if it's folded around to us, as will ace-6 suited. I have to say I'm really enjoying the shorter-handed games. I absolutely love playing kind of 3, 4, 5-handed. I do like playing six-handed as well, obviously, but I don't think many people adjust correctly to shorter-handed game. I think that's something that I'm quite good at doing. So, and like my natural game style is quite aggressive anyway. So, the shorter we go, I think the bigger edge I'm going to have on this pool in general. The suited king's definitely good enough to be opening from the cutoff there. Jack 4 offsuit, we are not going to be going for the steal. Queen 2 suited is borderline. I think I'm just going to go ahead and fold it though. We could consider opening it, but that would be quite loose. As I said, it is close for sure, but I think it should probably just be a fold. Jack Queen offsuit, we are most certainly going to be playing, barring any large amount of action. It's just a question of whether we want to call or use it as a 3-bet. Versus an under the gun opener, I think we're just going to use that as a call and see a flop. This flop is going to hit us a lot harder than it has him. So when he pots it though, we're just going to go ahead and fold. I was considering a check raise there, but when he chooses this size and he goes for the slight overbet, we are just going to go ahead and click the fold button. Ace-9 on the button though, we're going to be using as a 3-bet in position. Obviously, we're not using any hood, but from what I've seen over the games here, Lolol seems to be a little bit more aggressive than the average player on the pool, so be interesting to kind of try to get a feel for how they respond to 3-bets in general. They call, we flop top, which is pretty good. We're going to go ahead, we're going to bet quite small, we're just going to bet 150 here. I don't think we're planning on folding. Oh wow, this jam is crazy. I'm not folding. They've top 2, which is unfortunate, but we get there. That was possibly a bad call, but I was just expecting to see a huge amount of diamond draws, basically, which we are either flipping or are marginally ahead of. It was just so difficult to see how they had strong value there. Just seems like an absurd jam at top 2 pair. So obviously we get lucky, but we're not going to complain. We are up to €56 now over on the left table. Possibly a bad call though. I'm not actually sure about that one. That's a hand I'm going to mark and do a little bit more analysis on later on, because that's one I definitely wasn't sure making that call at all. I don't think it can be that bad though with top with the backdoor flush draw as well, but it might not be great either though. With our pair of tens here, it's just so difficult for us not to be ahead here. I'm just going to go for a min bet and try to get some value, which we do, and we're going to call with our flush draw. We're going to assume it's possible that la here is going to be slightly tilted now after that last hand as well, so if we do hit our flush, it's possible that we're more likely than not to get paid. Somebody, they're typing in the chat there. I didn't quite see what they had to say, but I'm sure it wasn't nice things about us. When we pick up a pair and they bomb into us again, I think we're just going to go ahead and fold anyway. It's pretty unlikely our pair of sixes is good here. And yeah, we're just going to go ahead and click the fold button, I think. So it's always good when you have someone going nuts at you in the chat. That's always a good situation to be in. It obviously means that whatever just happened is definitely getting to them, and they're probably not going to be playing that well as a result, which is fantastic news for us. So we're definitely gonna assume that that player is going to be kind of out to get us a little bit. So we're happy enough. We're more than happy for people to be gunning for us for sure. Ace 7 offsuit we are going to use as a 3-bet bluff with our ace blocker. And King Queen suited in position is fine to be using as a 3-bet. This person is still going on in the chat box at us, so again, we're pretty happy about that. We're going to fire once here. We're going to go slightly over half pot, about 2/3 seems about right. We should be able to fold out quite a large part of his range successfully, including a decent number of aces that dominate us, which is great news for us. If Mr. Campton continues by either raising or calling, we're going to be done with the hand, but I'm pretty confident that bet is going to be quite profitable overall. 9-4 suited, it's obviously a fairly trashy hand, but we're in position and we are getting 3-1. We're not planning on folding, ever. Min raises blind versus blind, you can just defend them with literally 100% of your range quite profitably. And pocket queens, easy open obviously here. As is the pocket fours. So we get 3-bet here by rest a lot. We are probably going to click call. We're going to go to see a flop. Obviously, a set would be great, but there are a decent number of boards that we can attack as well. This isn't the worst of boards for us by any stretch. There shouldn't be a massive amount of king x in this guy's range. I'm going to assume that most of his 3-bets are going to be ace x, especially suited ace x, as well as some stronger pocket pairs and so on. But I think what we can do is we can call with our fours at least one street here. If it's checked to us, we can start getting aggressive. Because obviously I'd be taking this line with a decent number of king x. We should have more king x when we call the 3-bet than he does by using as a 3-bet, I feel. When he does fire 2 streets, I think we are just going to go ahead and give it up though. It seems like it's going to be a struggle to continue this hand profitably. But as I said, I think a lot of the time we are going to end up with him giving up and checking to us on the turn, and we have a very, very profitable bet on the turn to make into him, where we can fold out some stronger hands for sure. Some of it are certainly, if we're willing to barrel river, we can certainly fold out a lot of his stronger pocket pairs. We're going to be folding out pretty much all of his ace highs with the bet on the turn, with any bet basically. So there's a lot of upsides there to floating that flop. Ace 3 offsuit, we are going to be bringing it in for a steal. And Deuce 5 suited, as trashy as it is, we're getting a very, very good price. Pretty much everyone here is reasonably deep stacked. We're all kind of in around the 100 plus BB mark, bar one. I don't love it, but I think I'm going to go ahead and see a flop anyway. When the short stack for €4 just jams on us, we can't call. We're going to be dominated here just way too much. Obviously, we are folding the best hand here sometimes, like he can be jamming hands like 10-jack suited, king queen, so on, but we're never that far ahead when we are ahead, and when we're behind, we're going to be absolutely crushed. So trying to continue there is going to be a struggle for sure. Ace-6 though, we're going to be at it again. We're going to be bringing it in for an open. And Ace-5 versus the button limper, we're going to be using to ISO. We get 3-bet from the button here. Ace-6 is not going to play well out of position in a 3-bet pot, so we're just going to go ahead and fold. If we were using a hood and we had a bit of information on the player, we can consider using this type of hand as a 4-bet bluff, but I would prefer if it was suited if we were going to be doing that. But as I said, when we do get 3-bet without any information at all, we're just going to be folding. It's going to be a pretty big mistake trying to see a flop there. So we have this player over on the left table, which is tanking versus our ISO raise, which is very, very peculiar. You'd kind of assume he has a fairly straightforward decision on his hands. We're just going to be firing and have a pretty much an auto profit c-bet here on this kind of board, I think. I'd be pretty shocked if this bet doesn't turn a profit in the long run. He's tanking again. He puts in a small raise, which is peculiar. I don't really believe him at all. I'm going to put in a small re-raise. There's no need to put in a large re-raise here. This kind of re-raise just stinks of weakness to me, to be honest. He's going to show us some Jack-X here, which he's just overplaying his kind of random Jack-X, I think. But I think a lot of the time it's just he's going to convince himself this is a board that I can't have hit that well, so he's going to assume that his raise is going to take it down very, very frequently. We get called now, which I'm quite sad about, so we're just going to be checking and giving up. Kind of sucks that we have the ace of clubs here because we block his nut flush draws, which are definitely possible. He can have some worse flush draws as well, though. So our hand is actually good here very occasionally, but I wouldn't be overly optimistic about that. And yeah, we're never planning on taking a stab at this board. So we're just going to check and see if we can get this to showdown. If he bets here, so the problem is he can definitely have flush draws here, and we beat most of them. We beat most of them. Or, sorry, we beat all of them. No, that's not true, but we do. We beat all the flush draws that he's realistically going to be betting anyway. Yeah, we're just going to be giving this one up. I still like my raise on the flop. Like I find those flop min raises in those kinds of boards are just so often nonsense that I definitely like putting in the raise, but maybe that wasn't optimal. Ace Jack, we're going to be bringing it in for a 3-bet. Flatting isn't crazy, but I think I prefer using it as a 3-bet. And King 9 suited, we are almost certainly going to be playing. We're going to be calling if Mung Dong raises, and we're going to be raising if it's folded to us. We just get jammed on by flap 60, so we're going to assume no matter what he has, this is a bad play. There's no hand that he can have where this is the correct play at all. So we're going to assume that he's possibly not one of the better players in the pool. We have our friend La La Lal here. Unfortunately, they don't opt to play back at us when we have the pocket nines. So we've dropped a little bit. We dropped about a tenner over on the left table, and we were up a little bit over on the right. So the last few minutes haven't been fantastic for us, but overall we're still having a decently profitable session. Obviously, a lot in part due to our luck boxing versus the top 2 pair with our top pair top kicker earlier on. Which, as I said, I'm still not 100% sure about that hand at all. I'm going to go back and do a little bit of analysis on that hand after this session, just to see if I do think that's going to be a profitable call or not in the long run. King 8 suited, we are bringing it in for a raise, and we're happy just to check our queen rag and see a flop. I think trying to raise here would be a mistake. It can't be that bad versus a limper and a caller, but I don't think it's going to be amazing. And this is one of these situations at the King 8 where we're kind of way ahead, way behind, and when we're way ahead, he's pretty unlikely to have many outs that he can catch up with us with, so we're just happy to check, try to induce as many bluffs as possible, basically. We don't really have a hand where we can bet for value. I mean, I'm expecting our hand to be good very often. It's just hard to see what kind of hands he can have that will call us with. And when he checks back, I think we're just gonna check and try to induce another bet again, actually. Seems reasonable to me. I don't love this board over on the left table at all, but we're going to be betting it anyway. And unfortunately, our opponent does not bite over on the right table. Betting the river there wouldn't be crazy to try to extract some value from the random kind of queen X that he can be bluffing on the flop, but I think more often than not he's going to have just no showdown value at all there on that kind of run out, so I'm happy just to check to him and try to extract a little bit extra value that way. Jack deuce suited, we are going to be clicking the fold button as we are with the 4 and the 8. This is the guy who just open jammed us earlier on for the ridiculously large overbet pre-flop. We're going to be opening versus our friend Lalalal over on the right table. We haven't seen any chat messages popping up for the rest of the session though, so I'm assuming that maybe they've calmed down a little bit after that suck out. 7-5 offsuit, we're just going to go ahead and click fold. And multi-way on this kind of board, this is a reasonably well connected board. If they have a decent number of kind of connected pseudo connector cards types hands, it's pretty difficult for them to not have hit this in some way, shape or form. So I'm just going to check back here and try to get this to showdown as much as I can. I'm not really planning on taking a stab at any point. We do pick up a gut shot though, which is something. We now have ace high and a gut shot, and we're getting just under 5-1 on our money. I think we can go ahead and call. Any 7 is almost certainly good for us. Ace high is very occasionally ahead, although albeit very rarely, and any ace is probably going to be good as well. We can't completely discount 6s being good outs as well if they are putting in a bet with the 4 or the 5x, and 20 double barrels that we just fold. We actually have a pretty close decision here over on the left table with ace 9. So he's jamming 25 bigs and we have ace 9 off suit. We are calling 550 into 680. I don't think we're getting a good enough price, but this call wouldn't be absurd by any stretch, I don't think. The table over on the right, obviously we have pretty much no equity at all, but I think it's a pretty bad board for us to see bet. It's going to have hit him pretty well in general, so I think trying to take this down is going to be a mistake. I'm happy enough just to give it up. And when we've played so passively, the chances of him folding any pair I think are just so slim. If we bet here, we're looking to fold out. If he has a hand like ace 10, if he has a hand like those types of hands, it's so difficult for him to have missed this board altogether, and I'm not sure if he's folding any pair. Like pocket 8s even there, when we check twice there, I think pocket 8s are probably just going to click the call button. Like as I said, I wasn't really expecting any pair to fold there, so I think trying to bet there would be a mistake given how difficult it is for him to have a hand that has completely whiffed there. We are going to go ahead and click call with our pocket 3s in position, not anymore when it gets raised, unfortunately. We get called with the ace 10 here. We are going to be firing here. This is not the easiest board for him to have connected well with. The king is a fantastic card for us, so we're gonna keep betting here. We're gonna go on the larger side here as well to make sure that we maximize our fold equity versus his queen x. And I'm pretty much just going to be unloading the barrel here on the river on pretty much any river card that isn't a queen. So we don't have to, fortunately, we just take it down, which is always nice. If you can avoid having to put in the third barrel, it's always nice. As I said though, that king though is a pretty horrendous card for his range, and it's a pretty fantastic one for ours, so that bet on the turn is pretty much mandatory in my opinion. We're going to go ahead and click call and see if we can see a flop with our suited ace and try to encourage a bit of multi-way action behind. We do indeed. We have one caller. When he bets into 2 people, I'm going to assume that he has a little bit of some showdown value. I don't think he's going to be doing this as a stone cold bluff very often. I don't think he's going to be doing it with his kind of ace highs that haven't hit either. So I'm going to assume he's going to have a pair here a decent chunk of the time, and I'm just going to go ahead and fold. But we are happy to see a flop here on the button with our ace 9 suited. We flop top. We are going to be clicking the call button. We don't love the third spade, the third club rather, but we don't hate it either. We're going to have more flushes than he is, more usually anyway. We're going to call again. If he triple barrels here, we're going to have quite a tough decision. This is a pretty terrible run out. It's pretty much the nut low run out for us. It's just a question of whether we want to turn our hand into a bluff or not now. I think we do. I think we're going to be beat here fairly often versus kind of queen and jack x now. When he's checked back, he's usually going to have some showdown value, but rarely a flush. So we're going to go ahead and just bet and see if we can get called, see if we can get the fold rather. Make it look like we have the flush ourselves and kind of fold out those kind of single pair hands that do beat us, but that can't really call a bet there realistically. Okay, so with that hand, we are going to call it a session. So I'm going to go ahead and sit out. So as I said, this has been Fergal from Poker VIP. I'm going to be back again soon with part 3 and part 4 in the coming weeks. So if you guys enjoyed it, as always, feel free to leave questions, comments, anything like that. I do check them quite regularly, so if you have a question specifically for me, feel free to ask it and I will get back to you on the relevant medias. I hope you've enjoyed it, guys, and I'll see you again for part 3 and 4. As I said, take care.